Hello, this is Claire from hotcars.com. From lowriders to racing liveries to factory paint jobs to matte paint, let's talk about the truth of how cars are really painted. In a factory, after the bare metal shell of a car is formed, the first step in the painting process is to clean it and apply a corrosion-resistant layer using a series of dip tanks. This must be done thoroughly. One mark or streak from a hand could mess up the finish, so in factories, workers in full body suits and gloves are the norm. Base coats and top coats are applied with electrostatic spray guns. They spray positively charged paint particles, which spread widely because too many positives repel. The paint particles are attracted to the car's negatively charged surface, resulting in an even coat. This also prevents waste, making for a more cost-effective paint job. A clear lacquer coating is applied to protect the car against the elements, including UV radiation and dirt. In the olden days, there was only a monocoat, which was just a primer, a base coat, and a knee coat applied to the car without the clear coat. With only a monocoat job, the paint would sometimes come off with just a little bit of rubbing with a rag. At several stages between coats, the car is heat cured in a specially designed oven to strengthen the coatings as well as to remove unwanted moisture. When complete, these carefully applied layers will ensure that your car's bodywork will survive for many years to come, whatever the weather. Some manufacturers offer premium factory paint jobs at a surcharge, like Acura for example, which offers the optional $6,000 Enduro paint job. The Enduro upgrade painting process starts with 2 clear coats, a tinted clear, a ground coat, then a primer, then an electro coat. Urethane matte color cars are usually a young driver's way to separate themselves from the pack. And here's a quick overview of how that's done. The painter ensures that the car's body is as dust-free as possible. An air duster to start and a tack cloth to finish are one way to go. The matte paint is mixed to the desired thickness, something like 4 parts paint, 1 part hardener, 2 to 3 part reducer for example. At roughly an 80-degree shop temperature, 1 light coat is applied to the body with a spray gun at roughly 25 to 30 psi. 20 minutes later, a second coat is applied, and 20 more minutes later, a third coat is applied. Once the final coat is totally dry, all you have to do is maintain your matte paint job. You're going to want to avoid scratches or damages to the paint surface, as damage in a matte paint job is usually permanent. To wash it, you have to do it by hand gently, as the bristles in car washes can damage your sexy matte paint job, and most liquid or paste car waxes should be avoided. Matte finishes are often only found on higher-end vehicles due to the higher cost of the paint job, and the price of the matte paint cleaning products are more expensive than your regular auto detailing supplies. Not so easy to enjoy these non-reflective finishes, but the lack of a shiny, glossy appearance definitely makes matte painted rides stand out on highways and parking lots. A matte paint job can cost you anywhere from $2,500 up to $7,000. If you want an unfinished, unglossy look on a tighter budget, a professionally done vinyl wrap could be a cost-saving alternative. Lowriders are a standout representation of cultural pride. Born from racial tensions between Americans and Mexicans, the lowrider is a symbol of rebellion that dates back to the 1930s. Lowrider graphics are now a staple of mainstream car culture. Lowrider bodies have a connection to pachucos and their flashy zoot suits, and some of their custom paint jobs are second to none. Lowriders are painted starting with a base coat. Many painters prefer silver for the base, and some use silver flakes to give it that glittery look. You can see them sparkling on sunny California days. The clear coat is added over top to seal in the flakes. After 24 hours, that clear coat is manually sanded down flat to smooth it out. The second step involves laying out patterns and shapes using different sized paint tapes. This is where the artistry really begins. Using the car's features like its lights and license plate as reference lines, the artist lays out their initial design. Many designers will lay out their design on half the car, trace over it using a stencil, and use that as a reference for the other half of the car, making for a perfectly symmetrical design. Third step is making paint effects over masked out parts of the design. There are a number of effects that artists can go for. There's the water drop effect, where a clear base coat followed by the spraying of some water and then slight paint overspray accents the beading water effect. And then once that's dried, you can put a clear coat on top. Then there's the flake fade out, where just a touch of flakes are sprayed in key non-masked out areas. The candy streaking effect is where paint is slightly smeared using a microfiber cloth. Sometimes the edges of a design are darkened, creating a kind of shadow effect. Step 4 is where the design as a whole is looked at once again and the artist decides where to paint in solid color and where to add effects. Areas of the canvas are carefully unmasked and the solid color is added, as well as other paint effects. This process is repeated all around the Lowrider until it looks like a beautifully rebellious symbol of counterculture. This meticulous process takes weeks, as well as incredible concentration and patience. Some Lowriders are museum pieces, like the Albert de Alba Sr. painted El Rey. A 1963 Chevy Impala was in the Art of Riding Low at the Peterson Automotive Museum in LA. The Gypsy Rose was also shown during the exhibition. The 1964 Impala, which was in the 1974 TV show Chico and the Man, starring the late great Freddie Prinze Jr., is adorned with 150 hand-painted roses. Many have called the Gypsy Rose the Mona Lisa of Lowriders. It has been driven by Jay Leno and it may be the most influential custom car ever painted. The car's original owner, Jesse Valadez Jr., was famously buried in a Gypsy Rose themed casket in 2019. Other noteworthy artworks in the Lowrider Hall of Fame are El Muerto Rider, a 1968 Day of the Dead themed Impala created by artist John Yota Leaños and Artemio Rodriguez. The Mr. Cartoon painted Warner Brothers commissioned 1939 Gangster Squad Chevy Master Deluxe, inspired by the noir movie of the same name, and Our Family Car, the 1950s Chevy sedan painted by Chicano artist Gilbert Magot-Lujan. The Street Rods BPD was painted with pinstriping brushes and lacquer-based textile crayons. Racing liveries or the application of the sponsor's decals on the bodywork can be as memorable as the race car themselves. From Gulf's blue and orange Ford GT40 to Apple's rainbow Porsche 935 to Porsche's original pink pig livery on the 91720, the artists that create these masterpieces have a special place in automotive heaven waiting for them. Liveries are so influential that in 2001, the World Health Organization and the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile voted to ban tobacco advertising in the sport, which was incredibly evident on the bodies of its race cars. An F1 livery is the single most important piece of branding that a team can produce. Considering that an F1 race team spends up to $135 million a season, they need their sponsors to be well represented on a well-balanced and clear canvas. Each brand has their own guidelines, color codes, fonts, ratios and logos that need to be followed so they are represented just the way they want to be for the world to see. On top of that, racing governing bodies have strict regulations on what can be shown where. Some spaces on the car are reserved for the car's number or the driver's name, for example. So blending corporate bureaucracy and artistic integrity are what successful working artists do best. They excel at harmonizing livery with the natural flow lines of the car and creating simple, eye-catching designs that can be admired and absorbed from a billboard moving at 200 miles per hour. They often get sponsors to agree to compromise on colors, as the livery itself needs to be done in a limited amount of colors so as not to overwhelm the viewer. You don't want a car's design to look too busy, but you don't want to turn down sponsors. Some racing teams can have 15 or more sponsors. 3 or 4 colors on a car is ideal. They also have to make sure the colors show up more nicely on TV than they do in real life, as well as clearly no matter the time of the day or the weather conditions of a race. Brands sometimes have to compromise on the color the car is painted in real life so that it appears close to the desired color through the lens to the wider audience. For example, when McLaren had Vodafone on its livery, it painted its advertisement in orange so that it would appear red on the camera. An F1 livery can go through up to 50 designs, and because of the complex multi-tiered approval process, this can take up to 9 months to put together. Thanks to modern technology, a modern livery can be designed with precision in programs like Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator in 15 hours for an experienced designer before being applied to a car's surface. For NASCAR, their livery is designed this way and then printed in the form of vinyl. It comes out as 25 yards of material for each car. It's then laminated, cut and then installed through a precise hand wrapping process. Installation takes about 3 hours per car. Ken Block's Hoonigan graffiti style race livery has even been presented as an art installation and sold on clothing before being put on the famous rally cars. Ken Block and his team deferred to professional street artists like Trevor Andrews of Gucci Ghost to design the livery for his 1,400 horsepower Porsche Hooni Pegasus and his WRC Hyundai rally car. Hoonigan has even had glow-in-the-dark liveries like on its Toyota's Gymkhana 8 Ford Fiesta ST. Paint can change everything. In the same way it can change the mood of a room, it can transform a good car to a great car and make a great car transcendent. The process is an art form and the craftsmanship is truly impressive. I hope you learned a thing or two, or at least had as much fun watching this video as I've had making it. Once again, I'm Claire, and for the latest and greatest in automotive news, check out our website at hotcars.com. See you next time, where we'll be talking about how Lewis Hamilton became the most dominant driver in F1 history.